Welcome to the Dalen Show, and welcome to episode number 5 of Cardinals Talk. I'm Dalen Flowers, he's Russ Eddins, and here are today's topics. As the trade deadline has finally finished, the Cardinals made a lot of moves, and Russ and I are going to be here to talk about what we think about the moves and what the potential future is for the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals currently sit at 500, 58, 5.5 games back from the wild card. Let's get into it. No, it's been a while since we've been on here, you guys. Good to see you. Good to be back. Wasn't something we were just quitting. We just got busy. Summer's been kind of going for the both of us. Really quick, Rush, just how you doing? What you got going on over the last few weeks, man?
I just got back from a basketball presser with Chris Beard and Malik Dia. That was nice. Just got back from a little trip over to Atlanta. Did some work down there in Atlanta actually a month ago. I don't think we've had a better meeting since media days happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been busy with DM stuff, getting that ready. Really excited for this first edition coming out on first Thursday of the school year. It's been really good. I got some really good articles there. So if you're in Oxford, check it out.
Yes, sir. Well, let's dive into it, man. It kind of seemed like the moves that I think were obviously open to happen because of contract issues happened. McGreevy got called up. Eric Fetty's to the Braves. Maton and Steven Matz are gone. Fortunately, Ryan Helsley is now a New York Met. Just overall, how would you grade the way the trade deadline finished for the St. Louis Cardinals? Do you think they did enough? Were you happy with the moves made? What was your kind of overall take of what happened before the trade deadline ended?
Yeah, I was not surprised they sold. I feel like they could have contended. I mean, you had the Angels who were under 500. They were buyers, of course. That isn't the smartest thing they could have done. I think the Cardinals went with the safest route possible.
Yeah.
I was kind of in the impression that John Mozeliak was going to take a swing for some bigger name players, especially who's going out.
Yeah.
I figured he'd try to make one last push. I mean I would respect that. So I understand them selling. I was really happy with the return they got overall for those three guys. Phil Maton has been good this year, but he isn't a long-term player. He's not. He was never going to be here for a long time. Matt's his career with the Cardinals, are as far as we know, is done. I don't foresee them signing him in the offseason. When they gave him the $44 million, it was $44 million for 4 years. All those years ago now, feels like forever ago. So much has changed in the system. I was really happy with that. And then he wasn't very good at the Cardinals. I mean, he was all right. He got bounced to bullpen. And then Helsley. I mean, Helsley's been one of the best relievers we could have asked for in recent memory of all time. He's an all-time Cardinal. He's done amazing things. But, man, I'm pretty impressed with the return they got, especially for Matt's getting on Blaze Jordan. That was very impressive to me.
Yeah, I think I'm satisfied for the most part. I think there are moves that maybe I think the fan base wanted to happen, and maybe the front office maybe wanted to happen too, in terms of maybe Arenado being gone somewhere. But I think that went out the doors with Carlos Correa going back to Houston. I think a few more other fans may have wanted guys like Brendan Donovan gone, which it's an asterisk. Obviously, our best player so far this year, and obviously you would get a lot of return back, but how much are you willing to sacrifice for right now? It seems like we don't even know what the future is going to hold. I think some of those moves were made for the new incoming, front office moves that are going to happen after this season. But right now it seems like the future is still kind of up in the air. So I thought the deadline moved well. I thought that, like you said, they got a lot of reasonable return back that were, young guys that could kind of develop in their farm system and become something really good one day. For you, what was the best move that you believe the Cardinals made? How do you kind of evaluate what the best move was for the team in terms of maybe current or future standings for the Cardinals?
Yeah, I mean, I think all three they got a decent return for all of them. I will say I've read some articles that have called the Steven Matz for Blaze Jordan the weirdest trade at the deadline, which I think is fair. But I mean, I look at the Ryan Helsley trade and I go, okay, you got Baez, you got Dome, and Ellis Salt. Sorry for pronouncing the name wrong. I haven't really heard it pronounced yet. He's so new to the system. But all three of those guys are in high A right now.
Yeah.
They're not going to be a factor for a little bit. Maybe Ellis Salt will come up double A, triple A, and we'll maybe see him next year. But the other two, we're not seeing the 27 at the earliest. But Blaze Jordan, he's with Redbirds. He's in Memphis right now. He's an hour away from us. I mean,
Yeah.
we can go see him right now if you wanted
Yeah.
to. I don't know when they play, but that's the point. We can go see him. He's in Memphis. And he's awesome. Yeah, he's got 100 hits this year. In just in 92 games. So he's over a hit a game. His OPS is 846. I think that was a really underrated move because Wilson Contreras, he's in year 3 of this contract on a 5-year deal. So who's after him? And Blaze Jordan could be that guy. I know Wilson Contreras has voiced his desire, I guess, is what I've read recently. If he wants to stay in St. Louis, that's probably why they didn't trade him. Obviously, he's a cornerstone guy for now. But I was really impressed with that trade for the most part.
Do you feel like with these moves, this is the correct direction that the team needs to go into? Once again, kind of be within the standards of what Cardinals baseball is. And when I say that, for people that may not be familiar, this is a Cardinals franchise that is one of the most storied franchises in baseball, 11 World Series rings. This is a team that, is not normal for them to be out of the playoffs consistently and not competing for a World Series title. So do you think that these moves kind of set them up properly for the future to kind of rebuild, hopefully, and get back to where it needs to be within the next maybe 4, 5, 6 years?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the Cardinals are too prideful to do a full rebuild. Last year we saw them compete first half of the year, and they fell off. And the same thing this year. It happened. It was worse, honestly. Yeah. They weren't as good as early last year, and they were worse than they are. They're worse now than they were last year. I think it's close, but they're too prideful to rebuild. They're not going to rebuild at all. I think they phrased it as we're redoing the farm system, or they're looking at how they do the farm system. And I think these 6 players are going to help do that a lot, especially Baez, he's only 20. Dome is only 22. Jordan, he's going to be in the pros. Honestly, I would be surprised they called him up in the next year or so, or even as a 27th man in September to get a cup of coffee there. And then obviously you got Mason Molina. You have a Molina back in the system, so maybe that's what we're missing. We're missing the name Molina. But I think it's a good direction, but they have a long way to go to get that front system back up and going, I think.
Yeah. I guess let's bring it back to current moments then. With the moves that have been made so far, now, currently after the deadline, I mean, the Cardinals aren't out of the playoff race. I know that, there's still an opportunity to get within that point again, 5.5 games back from the wild card. I mean, some fans I feel like have kind of zoned out, and it's understandable. You beat the Dodgers in a series, but you lose to the Rockies. So and that kind of is unacceptable, no matter the state of the team. And do you think the moves that happen are going to benefit this team this year? What do you think happens for the rest of the year for this team? Are they able to continue fight? Do they find some consistency and maybe some type of motivation to fight through the rest of this regular season and maybe have a strong push for the playoffs? Or do you kind of just maybe want to see some younger guys get more opportunities and try out different things right now to just see what the future is going to be like for next year?
I think you got to pack it in right now. It's too late. They've fallen from being 0.5 games out to third wild card spot. They're at 3.5, maybe 2.5 now with the win this weekend, which is good. It's close, but I think they're a tier below the other teams above them. The Giants are, I think, in the same tier as the Cardinals. The Reds are a huge surprise to me. I think they're more of a contender than the Cardinals are, and the Padres are only 2.5 out of the first place in the NL West. So I mean, and the Brewers have surpassed every team in baseball now. They're the best team record wise. The Cubs are right up there with them. I think it's time you call some young guys up. You let them play. Michael McGreevy, I'm glad he's up. You've made room in the bullpen for a guy like Gordon Graceffo, who was drafted as a starter. But maybe you push him to the pen. That way he can just he won't have to stretch himself. He won't have to stretch himself. He won't have to stretch himself out so much.
Yeah.
He can just go 2 or 3 innings. But the offense is the problem. It's the pitching. So I think you got to call up some young pitchers and let them eat and figure it out over the next 2 months because you still got 40, 50 games or 40 games left.
Yeah,
a lot of playing left for a mediocre ball club that's packing it in. But I mean, I don't think the mindset's there anymore. I think they're mentally in it for 26.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there are just so many constellations that are still going around. As much as I love Miles Michaelis, I know that contractually wise, the money he's getting paid, a move couldn't be made for him, no matter how good or bad he's obviously been playing. But I think the mindset of these players is still great, but like you said, it is kind of just time to pack it in. I think that within the way the situation has kind of unfolded over the last 2 months. And I remember when we were going on, I think episode 2 or 3, we were just kind of specifying how important the month of June was. And it seems like from that moment on, things have just kind of fallen apart. And I think if that moment happened with those players that were still on this team, then it probably is going to continue to happen. I just think there's a lot of inconsistency right now within the franchise. And I think that maybe those moves may help it. But at the same time, you don't know, because now you're going into with a lot of people that don't have a true identity in the league. So I don't know. I think that there's moments to be happen. Cubbies series starts tomorrow night, I believe, in St. Louis. They have an opportunity to go out there and showcase if they can compete or not. I don't know. I think that they have these moments, and then they have these moments where it's like, okay, then what are we watching? So I don't know what to kind of showcase for the team right now.
Yeah, I think last year, they had a good first half. They were in a playoff spot or close to it, and then they came out the break and it just sort of fell off. I don't know the record right now, but I feel like as a fan, they just were at a different tier at that time, and the front office still tried to buy, and they had probably one of the worst deals they've ever made in history of baseball. It was egregiously awful. Two players are no longer on the team. Tommy Edman, doing great with the Dodgers now. And they said, you know what, we're not going to make the same mistake. We're not going to give a couple mid players to a mediocre baseball team. And I'm happy they sold this season. I expected them to maybe try something, but maybe I think it's for the best ultimately.
Yeah. So Eric Fetty's gone. Jesus Baez, Frank Elisalt, Molina, Blaze Jordan now in the system. Who are you most excited about within those players that ended up being traded to the Cardinals to maybe see maybe close to the end of this year or maybe towards the future? Which player are you most excited about?
Well, I've already mentioned Blaze Jordan, so I won't say him again. I'll go with Nate Dome. I think he's going to be great. He was drafted last year, 82nd overall. He won't be here till 27. He's obviously still in high A right now.
Yeah.
But he's got 23 walks, 78 Ks this year, and 65 and 2/3 innings, and 18 starts. He's from Mississippi State as well, so he's from my home state, not my home team, but from home state at least. As far as college goes, I'm excited to see him. I think he's, I haven't really scouted report on him yet, but the stats are there. Only 3-5 in the season. I'm not sure how good the Mets single A team is, but I look forward to watching him play the next few years. And he's number 15. He was number 14 in the Mets system, slides down one, but it's just another pitcher. And this team, you might have 10 pitchers in your top 30, and only 3 of them pan out. So maybe this guy. Maybe he gets Double A and he pushes a guy like Tink Hence to be better. He pushes some of the other top prospects to be better. But I think Dome's going to be a back the end kind of guy in a couple of years.
Yeah. Also the MLB draft has happened since we last got together. Just real quick, we obviously both have a history with Liam Doyle, and as much as we maybe dislike the guy for his college decisions, I think the Cardinals got a heck of a pitcher. Just evaluate his work, how you think he's going to be able to rise through the minor leagues over the next maybe year or two, and what do you think he's going to be able to bring to the Cardinals organization?
Yeah, Liam Doyle going for the 5th overall, the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I was in Atlanta for media day when he was drafted, and I missed it by like 2 picks. Like, oh, I know that name. That's really, really convenient. But yeah, he was at Ole Miss. Obviously left for Tennessee for 1 year.
Yeah.
Came back and pitched a gym against us this past season. I think he's no Paul Skeens. Obviously, Paul Skeens is in interior zone, but with the way the game is going now, Paul Skeens was drafted in 23. Caught up in 24.
Yeah.
Right. I think he could do that as well. I think he could go to summer ball. I imagine he's there or on his way soon. I imagine he's playing baseball. I haven't followed him yet, but I'd imagine he's in the system right now working on it, much like Skeens did, and he'll play hopefully AA, AAA, in the spring, and he'll get called up to the system quickly, and maybe we can see him in St. Louis in May or June. Maybe he can go for Rookie of the Year, much like Skeens did last year. And I obviously, like I said, he's no Paul Skeens. I mean, no one is. But I think we kind of have to hope that's his ceiling. I hope we have to, we have to say, hey, this guy could be, the equivalent for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
He could be that number one guy. And then you're in a situation where, okay, now it's much easier to build a complete pitching staff. Now you have an ace. Sonny Gray is an ace, but he's also 36 years old, or he's in his upper 30s. We need a younger guy.
Yeah.
And I think now is if he performs well throughout summer ball and throughout the minor leagues, I think he's the next big thing for the Cardinals in the rotation.
Yeah. Something I want to ask you, because I know we talked about it off camera, a couple of days ago, but do you think JJ Weatherholt needs to be called up at the end of this season, maybe, the last month or baseball, or do you just wait until next year to bring him up? Because he looks really good, and I've gotten a chance to watch him in person and obviously kept up with him. He looks really, really good. So do you think it's how do you evaluate this situation with JJ Weatherholt?
I'd call him up as soon as you can. Obviously probably best to wait till September 1st.
Yeah.
When you can add that extra man to the roster. But he's dominating in AAA. I feel like every time I go on Instagram or something, a couple times a day, I see a highlight of JJ Weatherholt, putting the ball at the fence or something, and he's going ballistic. The issue is, where you play him. Well, I don't care where you play him. You need in the lineup. You're not with the World Series this year. Bring him up, let him play.
Yeah.
Maybe give Arenado some time off. Maybe you can bring Donnie's can play third. He's played third before.
Yeah.
Maybe throw him over at third. Put JJ at second for a little bit. Give Arenado some time off. He's I don't know how much longer he's gonna be a Cardinal. I'd imagine they keep him. But Weatherholt is a future core of this team. He's a better hitting Brandon Donovan is what it seems like. Who's a little less. He can't play as many positions, obviously, but I feel like he's got the pop, he's got the average. He can hit for average, he can hit for pop more than Donovan can.
Yeah,
so I think he's the next big thing. He's the next big bat in the lineup for sure.
Yeah. I think that you always take that risk of calling those guys up and that quickly. But I think he's ready, and come that first week of September, you should probably see that happen. And it's as much as I think the Cardinals front office gets the hate sometimes that they've over the work they've done. They've drafted really well, and I will give them their props for doing that this year and last year to kind of just evaluate the pieces that would help this team in the future, and they've done a really good job with that. I think JJ is going to be a superstar, and right now, what brings this something to the team is something that we're kind of lacking in power. It seems sometimes in the offense, and I think JJ brings a collection of all that. Good plate discipline, good contact hitting, can swing for power when needed, great base running as well. So I'm excited to see what they do with JJ. I think right now it's just, it's honestly in a way sometimes hard to watch the team currently, in a way to just sit back and just be like, yes, I'm enjoying my team playing baseball. So we're going to see how the next couple of weeks go. I really want to see how they compete against the Cubs. And I think that's going to be a really good dictator of how to kind of evaluate the rest of the season for this team.
Yeah, for sure. I think, going forward, the episodes we have, whenever we can get them in, are basically about 26. We might, they did good at the Cubs this weekend, but ultimately, we're focused on 26. And I hope the franchise is too, as, we had this transition of power from Jose Locke to Bloom, and I hope it all goes well. St. Louis sports been on the back foot the past couple of years. Blues are stepping up, and maybe the Cardinals will next year too. I don't know what's going on with soccer over there, but I've heard I'm on a lot of St. Louis sports pages and whatnot. They're all like, "Oh, we suck" and whatnot. They're all complaining about it because they're not used to being bad at anything. So it's almost that time. I think we're going to see a position or a period of transition, and I think it's going to be for the better. But man, the Cardinals fans have weathered this storm for a little too long now, I think, for their liking. So I'm glad we're making a change in leadership.
Yeah. Cardinals start their home game series with the Cubs Friday night at 7:15 p.m. 3-game series. So we will see you guys hopefully next week, if possible, with the Rockies, Yankees, and Marlins coming up. Not too much left of baseball, man. We got about 2 months left. Really, 2 months left, month and a half. So we'll see you guys next time. If you're new, please subscribe, leave a like and comment. We appreciate you guys tuning in. All love. See you next time.